Hello everyone and welcome back to another noob-friendly WoW Classic progression episode. Now, in the end of the last episode, I left off in the Stormwind Stockades, but hadn't really explained too much about this instance. Now, this instance is a very weird one, but it's actually one of my favorite dungeons in the game. The reason for this is, the instance itself has some bosses in it, just like most other dungeons, except the bosses in this one don't really have a very good chance of dropping loot. Now, I'm not sure if that's because this is supposed to be labeled as a jail and maybe it's suggesting the idea that they didn't have very much to drop, but even though that's the case, this is actually one of the most profitable low-level dungeons in existence. Now, unfortunately for you Horde boys out there, you picked the wrong faction. No surprise there, but this is because the Stormwind Stockades is located in Stormwind, obviously. Because of that, it's pretty impossible for low-level Horde players, which the dungeon is targeted for low-level players, to be able to actually do this dungeon. But a lot of you are probably wondering, if there's no drops, how is it so profitable? The answer is actually really simple. This dungeon is actually really compact, and because of that, a lot of the NPC packs are very close to each other, making decent-sized pulls fairly easy to do, and not incredibly risky since the run to get back is actually really short. There's repairs pretty much right outside, so you can take this dungeon at a pretty good pace and not have too much to worry about if your team happens to die while doing so. On top of that, since everything jailed here is a humanoid, they drop pretty good amounts of money and pretty good stacks of both wool and silk cloth, which especially at the time of me running this, was going for slightly above the vendor price on the auction house. Now, a lot of you guys at this point probably have already realized that things are hitting vendor price pretty quickly when people stick them on the auction house. So, most of the time you're just going to end up vendoring the silk, but it actually vendors for a decent amount at this level too, and it adds up really quickly. On top of that, it seems like there are always 2 or 3 chests inside of the stockades, and especially if you have a rogue or a blacksmith that can open up those locked chests that you might bump into every now and then, you're going to make a lot of extra money from the greens that come out of those. In addition to being fast and pretty decent money for the level it's targeted for, it's also really good XP for the targeted level bracket. Since everything is so close together and the pulls are very fast, the XP rolls in very quickly on top of the money and other things. And because of that, my team and I decided we would camp here for a while until we all got around level 28 and decided to head over to our next dungeon, Gnomeregan. Now, Gnomeregan is actually a really interesting place. The reason for this is, it was actually the capital city of the gnomes. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed this by now, but every race has their own major city kind of designed for that race. Now, the only difference to that is that gnomes and dwarves share Ironforge. Now, the city of Gnomeregan was taken over, according to lore, by Trogs, and then the leader of Gnomeregan attempted to get rid of them by releasing an irradiated bomb, which only made the situation worse. Now, I'm not sure if this place was always intended to be left as just a dungeon, or if it was intended to be cleaned up and made back into another capital city again, but it makes it for a really interesting zone nonetheless. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed at this point, but there are some cool technological things in this game that seem to be created by the gnomes, generally speaking. So as you can imagine, this dungeon is full of interesting mechanical like mech creatures, and it also has a lot of really weird, unique, but interesting drops, such as the Hydrocane, an item that allows you to permanently breathe underwater as long as it's equipped, which in Classic, where the drown timer happens after just 1 minute, can actually be really useful even in the late game. Since Gnomeregan was originally designed to be the capital city of the gnomes, you can imagine how big this dungeon is. It's the size of a capital city, making it very easy to get lost and probably one of the most difficult to navigate dungeons in the game. This is a problem my team struggled with while trying to complete all of the quests we had for Gnomeregan, and we kind of burnt out of this one pretty quickly because of that. There is actually a back entrance that allows you to get into the dungeon a little bit faster and only potentially do the last boss, which has some pretty cool drops, but by the time we got this far in, none of us were really all that interested in continuing the dungeon. While doing this dungeon, I also managed to grab my first necklace item, which is awesome because it just gives stats to an area that otherwise didn't have anything equipped. Wonder what's gonna happen if this elevator just hits me. Ah, yes, of course. I sink through the bottom of the elevator, and then get put on top of it? What the heck? Continuing the list of interesting interactions, these NPCs decided they don't need land. They just float, because why not? Another one of the big downsides to this dungeon is that the walk back takes a while, and on top of that, since it's just going to stick you right back at the start of the dungeon, a lot of stuff you're going to have to re-clear. Now, the alternative to this is if you choose to die right inside the dungeon, I'm pretty sure you will be able to get through the back entrance without actually having access to the required key. I don't know if this is always the case, but I think it does work, although I'm not sure if you need the key later in the dungeon to access anything else. I didn't really pay too much attention to that. Level 30, dude. Level 30 is big. For several reasons. One of which is actually because I gain access to a really nice talent. Several nice talents, actually. But this one is really nice. All spell criticals grace you with the blessings of nature, reducing the casting time of your next spell by 0.5 seconds. That is disgustingly good. So basically, anytime I crit ever, I just have a much faster cast on my next spell, and that is really cool. The other thing we will see when I visit my druid trainer, which is going to be a little while because we're kind of in the middle of a dungeon farm right now, but it's still going to be really nice. So this is like a hella nice area. Shout out to the guy who told me that there was, for some reason, a druid trainer in Stormwind. I don't know why there is, because to me this is really weird since Stormwind is a human city and druids can't be humans, but very big thing should be happening. There it is right there. Travel form. Now travel form is massively important. Obviously it's only usable outdoors, which kind of sucks, but what this does, I'll just show it to you guys before I train anything else. I now have another thing I can transform into, and I have so much mobility. The movement speed is insane. It's going to help me a lot with questing, and that is going to be super helpful. So this is probably one of the biggest things to actually get as a druid, one of the biggest milestones. And of course, let's go ahead and check all the other stuff that we can get. I think I'm ignoring Soothe Animal. I honestly don't Fairy Fire that much, but I do enough that I'll buy it. Wrath, of course, very good. Still don't care about really any of the bear stuff, to be honest. I will get the next thing for this cat form because I use that somewhat frequently. And it looks like we got a couple of buffs over here. Increased or improved rebirth, which I still have yet to use because the materials are expensive for it. And one more thing, tranquility. Now this one is interesting. It's basically the only AoE I think that druids really get for healing. So it's a long cooldown, but very strong, very useful. It's a lot of stuff, and I also just blew through like 5 gold, which is very painful. But yeah, I did it though. Travel form, baby. Super awesome. To give my travel form a bit of use, I actually had to sprint through the area known as Stranglethorn Vale. This area is a slightly higher level than me in the fact that most of the stuff here is like 35 to 40, so it wasn't too scary, but I'm going to actually end up questing here later on. The reason I had to do this is because one of our quest turn-ins for Ironforge was for some reason in Booty Bay, which is located at the very south end of Stranglethorn Vale. However, we decided that since we were going to be going into that area, we might as well head to a different dungeon, and that dungeon is the Razorfen Crawl. Now, unfortunately for us, this is another dungeon located in a horde area, so it is going to be a little bit difficult for us to get there, especially because there aren't really any close by flight points as well. But since we're going to Booty Bay, that's going to make it a little bit easier on us. Now, Booty Bay actually does have a ship that will take you across the continent once again to an area known as the Barrens. This is a really well-known area for most horde players because the general chat there is very similar to the general chat at Wintertide. You don't pay attention to it because you will lose brain cells if you do. However, we decided we wanted to go there for a bit of a change of scenery, although it did turn into a lot more of a hassle than I think any of us were expecting. Freaking racist, dog. Look at this dynamic weather changing right here. Watch this. Wait for it. Yeah, look at that. Crazy rain. It's clearly raining over there too, right? Now check this out. Alright, back in 1,000 Needles. Alright, here we go. Whoa. Yo, dog, what happened to the rain? There's not even any clouds. I even see a bird up there. Really, I don't think you're gonna be able to res me here, Sam. I have significant doubts. Like, very significant doubts, alright?
Who killed you?
This Hunter boy down here, plus the level 40 plus shaman. Now, we had a bit of a detour. And by a bit of a detour, I mean, we kept getting ganked by some way higher level than us Horde players, and some low level players that were with them started joining in on emoting us and kind of, you know, hitting us with a little bit of the bad manners after we died. So, I found those low level players again and decided to get my revenge. It was worth it, I think. Now, there isn't really too much of a reason to PvP yet, aside from just doing it for fun, or I guess to annoy people of the opposing faction. And the reason for this is the honor system doesn't exist yet. It's coming out in a future phase of the game, which should be in a month or 2 months, maybe 3. However, sometimes you just gotta get a little bit of revenge. And that little bit of revenge may have gone on for 30 to 45 minutes, because they were at one point camping us for 30 to 45 minutes. It did get a little out of hand, I can admit that now. But that's kind of part of being on a PvP realm, and what makes it interesting is there is the whole Horde versus Alliance thing. After a while, though, we did make our way into the dungeon, we did the dungeon quest we had, and it was a pretty good time once we were actually there. But just the process of getting there made me kind of realize that maybe sometimes it might not be worth it going to these zones that are pretty far away for these dungeons. Now, I am taking a very, very casual approach to playing this game, as a lot of you guys have probably noticed, and that's kind of the point of these videos. But sometimes it's just not worth it going to the next dungeon up in the list, and it might be better off to just fill that little void in levels with questing. Oh, can't even tame me, boy.
Right.
Now, of course, it's time for my favorite boss in the dungeon. This boss is a graphical masterpiece, and of course is the most challenging boss in all of existence. I'm just kidding, it's a freaking giant pig. Because why not?
Father.
Easy boys, the graveyard's right here, fuck y'all. Bet you I'll beat you down.
I mean...
So I bought this hat off of the auction house. And I want you guys to understand that it's gonna blow your minds. You ready? Oh, isn't it beautiful? Perfect. Like I said before, I like to have a good mix of dungeons and quests because I feel like it gives you the best experience of the game overall. I decided to head back to Stranglethorn Vale with anyone who wanted to join me, which ended up being my brother and a member from my guild, and we picked up a couple people along the way, and we decided to just start doing some quests. Dragon Tails, sorry.
Shut up, Dave.
Come on in.
What? Look up! There's one above us!
What?
Turn around and look up where I'm looking.
This bastard's sniping.
He's on the wall! It isn't my favorite WoWscape streamer. Whoa!
Big pants.
Should we all just need?
Gabe, I'm gonna fight you. No, it has shadow.
I mean... Hey! I got a blue... Dude, that's crazy. Just from random mobs? Give me that level, baby. 32.
Rats.
Oh, you get a gun from this. Okay.
Yep. Now we gotta go kill the elites.
Let's go back. As you do every couple levels, it's time to revisit my trainer. Now, there's still some stuff on here that like Soothe Animal and some of this bear form stuff that I'm gonna ignore for now, though I might switch to Pharaoh later. But Ferocious Bite looks like my first not bleed finisher for cat form, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab that. This is a good starting move, I guess, for cat form. Track Humanoid, I don't know how useful it'll be, but sure, I guess, why not? I'll probably just get this too. It looks like it only works in cat form, but whatever. And, of course, a new Healing Touch, that's just an instant train. Hey. Random ding. Ooh. After questing a bit in Stranglethorn, some of the quests we were getting were like level 40 quests, and being that we're still all in the low 30s, we decided that maybe it was best to just try out a different zone and come back to Stranglethorn later. So we made a very, very long walk over to Desolus. And Desolus is a really, really interesting zone. One of my favorites. I know I say that a lot. Maybe you guys have realized at this point, but I just really enjoy a lot of places in this game, as this place was a big nostalgia factor for me growing up. I quested a lot here. I think this is the area with the... Yes! Oh my god, I remember this! I died so many times here as a kid. So many times, dude. Oh, this is some serious nostalgia right here. I probably, like, had one day where I died here so much, I remember, that I was just getting so pissed off that I just took the res sickness. I don't think I was even here for a quest or anything. I think I was just walking around. Now, the area of Desolus introduces a pretty cool new concept. That concept is a reputation quest. Now, a lot of you guys are probably familiar with at least seeing the words your reputation has increased whenever you complete a quest, but I'm going to kind of get a little bit more in depth with what it actually means. Now, when you're doing quests in certain cities or in certain areas, your reputation for major cities is going to increase. This doesn't become a very huge factor until you're mount training in Classic, and happens to be much bigger in the Burning Crusade, but since we're not in that expansion yet, I won't really get into detail with explaining that one. However, this quest specifically requires you to pick one of 2 different Centaur clans, and every time you kill one of the members of the opposing clan, your reputation will increase for one and decrease for the one that you are killing. So if you, for example, are killing Centaur Group 1, then your reputation will decrease with Centaur Group 1, but increase for Group 2. This quest actually requires you to do this until you hit a friendly, and a follow-up quest is the Honored reputation as well. It's a really interesting concept, and I kind of would like to see more quests like these, but I'm sure some people consider them a bit too grindy. I didn't think I'd ding when I got that quest, but there we go. 34. I was going to say rune crafting for some reason, but that's not. That's the wrong game. Alright, so I think what I want to do here is start working on this Starfire talent a little bit. I think I'm going to bounce down into all this stuff next too, but a little bit of improved Starfire, no reason not to get it, and then, ooh, dude, Moon Conform is so close. What can we get at level 34? Oh, new rank of Moonfire, new rank of Starfire, new rank of Thorns. That's enough to be satisfied right there. Swipe is Bear, Rake is Cat, so I'll get that. And Rejuvenation as well. Dude, it's so nice. Every 2 levels, so satisfying getting those kinds of upgrades. Before this video wraps up, I want to encourage you guys all to leave a like and comment on this video. I really do appreciate those of you guys who have been watching and leaving that positive support. It doesn't go unnoticed, and it really warms my heart to see a lot of you encouraging me to play other games besides just RuneScape. On top of that, if you could also click a video in your sidebar after you're done watching this video, that would help me a lot too, because doing stuff like that has a good chance of increasing this video's recommended rate. So that would mean a lot. Maybe more people will see these WoW videos, and maybe I can pump them out at a little bit of a higher rate if you guys are really enjoying them and if more people start to see them. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys all next time. Peace out, everybody, and thank you so much.